battle starts.
Greetings folks, AnIolairGhorm here with the World of Warships replay, and this is going to be kind of a heartbreak battle we had a few days ago. I am in the Tier 7 U.S. Navy light cruiser, the USS Helena, and I am divisioned with Piston Napalm in the premium Tier 7 U.S. Navy heavy cruiser, the Indianapolis, and Jimijaz in the Tier 7 Royal Navy light cruiser, the Fiji. We played a domination match on Warrior's Path. Each team had 5 battleships, 4 cruisers, and 3 destroyers, but most importantly to note here is that we were bottom tier. Now, my ship upgrades and commander skills for this battle are the same as it was for the last couple of USS Helena replays, so I won't rehash that here. And highlights of this battle will center around not only this being kind of a heartbreak, but also it will highlight the efficacy that the Helena can have even when it is bottom tier and even when it is on one of these maps that is really geared towards vessels with better range, since the Helena is rather range limited on these bigger maps. Couple of opening comments before we get to the gameplay. I have been playing the Helena quite actively, obviously given the few replays that I've already had on the channel. And for those of you who know my play preferences with German ships, yes, they are probably getting a little bit jealous, but with the upcoming buff on the York will likely retain the position as my favorite Tier 7 cruiser. So, like I said, this battle is going to highlight not only the strengths of the Helena, but also I think is a good demonstration of how I think Wargaming has done a good job with the U.S. Navy cruiser split and really making these ships very functional, very capable with the introduction of the Dallas, the Helena, and even with the Cleveland changes. Seattle may be a little bit less so in my opinion, and obviously the Worcester has been a very potent addition to the game at Tier 10. So let's get to the gameplay. So since half the team literally spawned on the east side, we have moved obviously here to Charlie to support taking this cap. Our allied Akatsuki dropped smoke as soon as he got into the cap, but it looks like he didn't stay in the smoke. I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure why he dropped smoke as soon as he got to the cap. I don't know if he was immediately detected by the opposing Bliskovica. It's certainly not helping that our Akatsuki is keeping himself detected by firing on the Bliskovica, and so you're going to see some pings on the map, and we're going to type in the chat here shortly to basically ask the Akatsuki to stop firing and just worry about taking the cap and not worry, basically get into concealment. So it was a little bit frustrating that that had happened. You can see that our team did kind of lemming to Charlie. We only have 3 ships that are in the middle of the map. We have a couple of destroyers that are headed for Bravo. The opposing team took Alpha very quickly since we didn't send any ships there to contest it. But our position here is fairly weak. The opposing team basically has the Alpha flank completely wide open for them to push through. And they, in fact, will do that. And that will put us in a pincering situation, which will be very difficult. In fact, frankly, just impossible to get out of. I'm positioned here in a place that's very popular with ships like the U.S. Navy light cruisers or even the heavy cruisers, as well as the Royal Navy cruisers, where they have some good protection against torpedoes with this island mass. They also can get into concealment, but their shell arcs allow them to fire over the landmass and be able to put fire on these ships. Now, this Richelieu that I'm putting a lot of fire on is going to get out of my reach here very shortly, and we're actually going to get him down to just a few thousand hit points. I'm going to call target on him a few times, but our team will fail to finish him off, and that's going to come back and bite us later. So a couple of frankly mistakes that I think our team made. Here I am calling target on him because I know now that I'm not going to be able to hit him after the next salvo or so. I'm going to have to reposition. So a couple of mistakes our team has already made. We have left the flank open on Alpha. You can see I'm pinging on the map here because we need battleships to either push through Charlie, which I think is going to be difficult with the opposing team having 5 or 6 ships on that flank, or coming back to defend the flank coming from Alpha, because again, we are providing no resistance to the opposing team on the west flank. And so we're just, frankly, even though we hold 2 caps, which is good, we're simply going to allow ourselves to be overrun by one flank or the other. Now, our allied Kitakaze here that helped us get Bravo, he, for whatever reason, elected to sit broadside in his smoke with no screening offered, and took torps and was sunk for first blood. So positioning for him may not have been very good, and he obviously must have known that the opposing Kitakaze was in the area. As we can see, the opposing Kitakaze's position, last known position, was on Echo 4. So I'm headed back toward the west. I'm obviously in comms with both Piston Napalm and Jimijaz and say, look, since we're not going to be able to push through on the Charlie side, they're simply too strong on the side, maybe our better option here is to help come back and try to defend the flank on the west. Now, the flank in the west also has a significant, and again, you can see that we're pinging on the map here because we're about to get overrun. And one of the challenges of being in these ships like the U.S. Navy light cruisers that have relatively limited range compared to their counterparts is that on these bigger maps with more open water, it's hard for them to work with cover. If they end up in these situations like we see here with the opposing Fletcher being in Hotel 5, and he's going to provide spotting on this flank, and there's nothing we can do about it unless we get him out of the way. So fortunately, the opposing Fletcher went into smoke, and that allowed me to get into concealment after I had stopped firing my guns and not get hit by 4,287 shells from the Kitakaze over a 4 nanosecond period. And I'm going to borrow the smoke from our allied Fletcher here to put some fire on the opposing ships that are coming from the west flank that are now about to push into Bravo. First I've popped hydro here, obviously, because I can anticipate torpedoes coming from the Fletcher, which they will be coming. But I also want to have my nose on the last known location of the Fletcher so that if he does send torpedoes, which he did, I have a better chance of being able to thread those torpedoes and not take a torpedo spread and not fall victim to the same torpedo strike that our allied Kitakaze did at the beginning of the match. Now I have another problem, which is even though the smoke from the Fletcher is going to be around for a while longer, we have 2 opposing radar ships, the Baltimore and the Missouri, that are rounding the corner. And so I can't stay here. They're going to be able to radar me out. The Missouri has a decent chance of one-shotting me, or at least deleting the vast majority of my health in a single salvo. I need to move. So I'm going to turn around, head back towards Jim and the Fiji, where he's dropped smoke, and see if I can borrow some of his smoke as well as we go into kind of a tactical retreat. But what I was talking about earlier, where our team was getting pincered, that's exactly what's happening here. Our east flank, we lost a key on the flank, I believe, and now our Freddy, which is in Foxtrot 10, he basically is completely on his own now, and he's going to get focused out as well. Now, fortunately, we did take down the opposing North Carolina that had moved into Bravo, which is good. But the opposing team still has a lot of ships that are putting pressure on our west side, including the Missouri and the Baltimore, and then also the Amagi that's just west of Bravo. Here comes some more torpedoes from the Fletcher, but they appear to have been sent from quite a distance, so they peter out before they even reach the Jimijaz's smoke, and Jimijaz's smoke is going to expire here relatively soon. You can also see that the opposing team has moved into Charlie now, and they're about to take that cap. So our positioning here, frankly, is very poor, even though we technically have a ship lead of 1 ship. We were able to get down the opposing Amagi that was west of Bravo, And now we're focusing on the Missouri. Now, the smoke has expired, and Jim and I are cutting away here from the Missouri. Now, the Missouri's got his guns trained on a different target, so I feel a little... I have some flexibility to be able to fire on him. I am being targeted. It is the opposing Baltimore, which is island camping at Gulf 4. So I'm trying to support our allied Iowa here with the Missouri, because our Iowa has taken a pretty heavy beating. In fact, I need to give a good call out to this Iowa, because he did play the battleship role for our team very well. He helped lead the battle. There we were able to get the Missouri down. I just be the one fortunate enough to get the last damage in. But our allied Iowa did a really good job, not only to help us erode the west flank, which we've now largely gotten out of the way, but he's also making the right call that we need to push toward Alpha and capture that cap, because we've now largely eliminated, but although not entirely, the team's west flank, and that should can give us a better foothold to be able to maintain some control on this match. Now, we do have a point lead because we did hold caps longer than the opposing team, but we're even on ships, and we are also now down on caps, so we're gonna start falling behind here relatively soon. Trying to get some fire on this Atlanta, at least to discourage him from advancing. We also call target on the opposing Helena that's on the northeast side of Bravo as he's about to push into the cap, and also on the Baltimore, so that we can try to get the west flank a little more freed up. Our allied Fletcher, excuse me, obviously wants to be able to operate with a little more freedom and not be plagued by a radar cruiser. The opposing Helena has now moved into Bravo. He is facing off against our allied Richelieu. He takes a huge salvo from the Richelieu, and then is finished off with the Richelieu's secondaries. Our Akatsuki that had previously gone to Charlie, he ended up getting taken out by the Helena in the Bravo cap. I don't know whether he was unable to get into smoke, or he was too close and he was detected, or what. But now, even though we are now making good strides on the west flank, we've now retreated so far that our east flank is now exposed. And the opposing team has been able to do two things. One is they've been able to capture Charlie, but they're now able to push through that flank. And I'm deliberately holding my fire here because the opposing Lion is clearly very healthy. I don't know whether he's going to be spamming HE or firing AP, but either way, he can do a serious number on me, regardless of what shell type he fires. So I'm trying to get into a position where I can help support the Richelieu. You can see that I'm calling that we should be supporting him. Here I get detected briefly by the Lion, but I realize that the Lion is about to slip behind the smoke screen of the Błyskawica. That will conceal me and allow me to fire within discretion on the Lion. And I'll be able to do this so long as the Lion stays behind or within that smoke screen. Our Richelieu is getting badly beaten up because he's in a crossfire between the Lion and the Błyskawica on the southwest side of Charlie, but also from the 2 or 3 ships that are coming through that narrow channel from Charlie into Bravo. So our Richelieu is almost dead. So thanks to our Richelieu for trying to hold that flank, but we simply were outnumbered and we're going to lose it. Our allied Iowa has helped us secure Alpha. He's also needed to retreat some so that he could try to get another heal in, which I think he was able to do. We're trying to get some pressure on the Baltimore, I was just about to say, and we do finally finish off the Baltimore, but that pesky opposing Fletcher is still floating around on the west flank, and the Iowa is rightfully concerned that if we don't get him down, that will be a risk to the Iowa being able to come back successfully and help defend the flank that is coming through at Bravo. Again, I'm deliberately holding my fire here because I don't want to be the focus of 4 or 5 opposing ships coming from the east flank. So I'm going to get over to this island, try to get into some cover, and either fire from concealment or at least fire in a way that limits the number of opponents that can shoot at me. I'm calling target on the ships that are moving into Bravo. I feel some urgency to get some fire on the ships and reset the cap, so I'm going to fire now even though I am fairly exposed. You can see I've already got 4 ships targeting me. It was kind of a risky move, but I'm hoping that, you know, this is close enough to the island I'm able to slip into some cover and minimize the amount of damage I take, which I am able to do. They'll have a ship targeting me, which I think is the Lion, and then I do slip into cover. And I'm now going to sit behind this island and shoot from concealment for as long as I can. Continue to call target on the Richelieu because 1, he's now low health, but also 2, he holds a lot of the cap points on Bravo. You're going to see the opposing Fiji is going to show up here on the north side of Bravo here in just a moment. I'm going to switch my fire to him well, for 2 reasons. One is to further reset the cap on Bravo, but also I was kind of expecting that the Richelieu was very close to death, and frankly, this was probably a mistake. I probably should have kept the fire up on the Richelieu to make sure that he did go down, but I didn't do that. We now have a 2-ship deficit. We are losing Bravo. The opposing Fletcher that's on the 1 line has continued to harass us. Jim has felt, and the Fiji has felt some urgency. You can see him in Gulf 3 looking to try to hunt down the Fletcher and finally get him out of the way. The opposing Fiji has gotten back into smoke, but the opposing Atlanta has poked himself out here, and he's doing some throttling here. So my first salvo misses, but this salvo is going to find its mark and finish off the opposing Atlanta, and that will even up the ship count. There is still the opposing Fiji in the cap. So looking at the count, looking at the score right now, we actually have now gained a ship lead. So Jim was able to get the opposing Fletcher out of the way. We now technically have a ship lead. We do have the point lead. Our problem right now is a couple of things. First is the opposing Fiji is still in Bravo and is still taking that cap. I'm, again, trying to get into some cover here so I'm not one-shot by the Lion, but I can still put some fire on him. The other problem that we have is our allied Fletcher, in my opinion, has made a mistake here by going into the Bravo cap because while I think his intentions were to help try to deny the cap, he likely got into range of the opposing Fiji's hydro and was detected and then was basically an easy target for the opposing team. Or in fact, he's just about to go down here. So I'm sorry if I called it earlier. In fact, what had happened, my mistake on the commentary here, it was our Iowa that had gotten finished off by the Lion, and then our Fletcher, in my opinion, made the mistake of trying to go into Bravo to contest against the Fiji. And so now it is just Jim and me. We had the lead up until the point that our Fletcher went down. And here is a place where I kind of second guess the choices I made around how I played this. I generally had been very conservative about exposing myself to fire from the Lion. But we're now in a situation, now that I look back on it, we have to make the move here. And instead of sailing away from the Fiji, I should have sailed toward him. There's the high caliber. I should have sailed toward the Fiji and looked to get him down because at this point we have nothing to lose. The Fiji has now moved back into the cap. The Bliskovica is also in Bravo. And what we should have done, I think, and I can always second guess this as long as I live, but I think I probably should have turned toward the Fiji and tried to get him down. In all honesty, I don't know whether it would have been effective because, again, it would have left me broadside to the opposing Lion, and it certainly would have left me exposed to fire coming from the Bliskovica. So I'm not sure that would have been a successful attempt, but it might have been the right thing to do. So in the end, even though we held the lead at a number of points and we did a good job trying to recover from some very poor positioning, It wasn't enough, and we end up losing the match in the end. So, like I said, heartbreak. Do come in top XP for the team. In fact, I was would have been third on the opposing team just based on my own losing experience. So again, the Helena is a very potent and capable ship, even in these situations where it's bottom tier, and it has some limited range, but it can still be an effective ship. So I hope you enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Again, please do leave your comments below, and as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.